Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. I am back, and it looks like Q is too. I got some coffee here, and I'm rolling into work looking like this. It's good coffee is what I'm saying. I'm motivated today.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. How many we got today, John? 5. Nice. 21:71, 35 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Q takes us to this Twitter link right here. Belongs to a lady named Alice at Real Trumper Land. Very cool. And I don't know if she made this video, but she put the music over this video. I've heard this with a couple other songs or whatever, but I like this one in particular. And so this was the video that you saw at the beginning of my video, and you've probably already seen it before. Very, very cool. I like all this stuff where you put people's heads on stuff, and I don't know, I always get a kick out of that. So good on you, Alice at Real Trumper Land. Hope you get a bunch of follows there. Here, now you get another one. All right, let's move on. Post 21:72, 28 minutes after the hour of 2 p.m., September 17th, the week of, I'm assuming, starting Monday. And then we get a CNN link here, D-Class coming, more incriminating text releases coming, dark to light, carpet bombs, Moab. I'm assuming that's carpet bombs coming before the Moab. Q. Well, the link takes you here. Presidential alert, FEMA to test emergency alert system next week. It's not a political message, but an emergency test message sent from President Donald Trump as part of the Federal Emergency Management Agency system to warn the public in case of national emergencies. A majority of cell phone users will receive an alert on Thursday, September 20th, with the header Presidential Alert and the message, "This is a test of a national wireless emergency alert system. No action is needed." The Presidential Alert is one of 3 kinds of alerts in the FEMA's WEA system, which also notifies the public about extreme weather or missing children, also known as Amber Alerts. You can expect to see the alert pop up on your phone at 2:18 p.m. Eastern Time, so long as you have your phone turned on, are within range of a cell tower, and if your wireless provider is part of the WEA system. The WEA test will be broadcast over the course of about 30 minutes and sound the same as an Amber Alert. Users can't opt out of the Presidential Alert test, according to FEMA. More than 100 carriers, including the largest carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, will participate in the emergency alert test, FEMA said. FEMA will also run a test of its emergency alert system for radio and television broadcasters the same day, beginning 2 minutes after the WEA test. In its news release, FEMA said it could postpone the national test to October 3rd if the agency is dealing with a major weather event, but it has not yet made that determination. FEMA is currently handling the response to Hurricane Florence, which hit the Carolinas on Friday, causing heavy winds and rainfall in the region. FEMA officials told CNN on Saturday morning that they are still planning to conduct the test this week. The agency is required by law to conduct a nationwide test of its public alert systems no less than once every 3 years. FEMA is also tasked with ensuring that the president can alert the public under all conditions in cases of national emergencies, including natural disasters and terrorist threats. Well, this should prove to be interesting. I will not be getting one of these texts, but I'm sure many of you guys will tweet yours and whatnot, so I'm sure I'll see it. People are going to be getting it everywhere after all. So, but this is a message that, the deep state can't necessarily control this, can they? This is a presidential alert. Now, of course, FEMA is the one releasing the message, but this is coming from the president. So this should be some pretty grand theater. It's almost like getting a tweet from the president, although, of course, it is a test and it's not something you want to mess with. It's the emergency alert system. And we're dealing with this storm that's already been hitting the East Coast, right? So this is pretty massive. And, of course, we've got the FISA storm that is also incoming. And Q says D-Class coming. Well, we know it's coming, right? We just don't know when. Do it. Yes, do it. More incriminating text releases coming. Dark to light carpet bombs before the Moab. And we talked about this, last week. It's that threat of that big Moab is making everybody scurry, of course. And meanwhile, they're getting hit with carpet bombs. And these carpet bombs are coming in the form of these incriminating texts. And we just got a few more. Really, at this point, if you're watching Hannity and Sarah A. Carter, they're kind of covering a little bit more uncovering a little bit more every day, right? Releasing more with this Peter Strzok and Lisa Page situation. And of course, we're realizing that this involved so many people, and it's growing and growing and growing just in time for midterms, as everyone was starting to get a little bit panicky about whether or not we were going to see this or not. It looks to me like clearly we are. Dark to light, and it should be very exciting. And of course, the deep state is reacting like this. Oh, you better run. Well, it looks like the Moab is on its way. But if you have a deep state, it might as well already be here because they are getting carpet bombed left and right. We're finding more texts coming out each day. It becomes more and more difficult for them to defend. And this is a really good strategy because, like I said last week, if we just drop one big bomb, one big Moab, that gives the deep state a chance to come back with one big counter narrative, one big Moab defense, right? Well, this way, they're not sure where it's going to come from. They're not sure if it's going to be more text. It could be in the form of the video that we saw from Breitbart regarding the Google employees' reaction. There are so many different ways that we can attack the deep state at this point because we've got it all, right? So what's the point in just dropping it all at once and having it get ignored when you could just carpet bomb them and make them deal with it day after day? And for the deep state, this becomes difficult too because their base starts to get worn down. Okay, morale is obviously bad in the far left camp, right? They're trying to figure out a way to take down Trump. Meanwhile, they're having to defend themselves more and more each day. And this is what wears them down, and it's going to wear the voter base down too. So this is really, really big stuff, and it's fun to watch, I have to admit. Keep in mind, we are already under a state of emergency. It said in this article here at the bottom, FEMA is also tasked with ensuring that the president can alert the public under all conditions in cases of national emergencies, including natural disasters and terrorist threats. So it remains to be seen if we see anything by way of text. I wouldn't be surprised if there might be an allusion to this guy right here. Not really sure, but I do know we're going to experience a lot more carpet bombs this week before we finally decide to drop that Moab. Let's move on. 2173, 28 minutes after the hour, 3 p.m. We get this. I see Q people, and it's a collage of a bunch of QAnon fans at Trump rallies. And we see some familiar faces in here, huh? And then we see her, too. What's up with that? I don't think she's supposed to be in there. That was the girl that was trying to hug the president. You're not a Q fan, aren't you? They want you divided by race, divided by religion, divided by culture, divided by class, divided by political affiliation. Divided you were weak, together you were strong, we the people. Where we go one, we go all Q. Well, this is nice, and I was thinking about it the other day. Nobody really embodies that at this point the way QAnon does. Isn't that amazing? All the hate that we get, and yet we're the ones that are showing all this true inclusivity, if you will. We're just a bunch of patriots trying to get things figured out. And it doesn't matter what race, religion, culture, class, or political affiliation you are, because we've got them all, don't we? We've got them all, and there they are in that picture right there. We've got many, many more where that comes from. We are winning. We're winning big, boys and girls. I've got live deep state reaction right here.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Post 2174, 9 minutes after the hour of 5 p.m. We get this Twitter link here. Together we are strong. Together we win. Q. And it takes you to Running the Race, @ToRunTheRace, who posts picture of our favorite general at the Eagle Council with some Q Patriots. Notice the napkin on Education for Libs bottle 2. And then it goes on to thank General Flynn and Donald Trump. Thanks to formerly Young for letting me know. And we see this picture here of a couple handsome Patriots posing with the general. Now this right here, the where we go one, we go all, looks pretty photoshopped right there. It's not really curving around the bottle. That's okay. This guy looks like his shirt's pretty legit though. He's woke. But he's woke with a Q, so he's wook-wooka. Well, General Flynn was accepting an award at the Eagle Council, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I wanted to point out that this particular post came in at 5:09, just 1 minute after we saw this tweet right here from Donald Trump. While our poll numbers are good, with the economy being the best ever. If it weren't for the rigged Russian witch hunt, they would be 25 points higher. Highly conflicted Bob Mueller and the 17 angry Democrats are using this phony issue to hurt us in the midterms. No collusion. So it looks like another Q proof right there. Donald Trump is alluding once again to the 17 angry Democrats. And this came in actually about 51 seconds, the post came in 51 seconds after the tweet. But it looks to me like some odd capitalization here in this tweet also. So I imagine there is another message going on in here. I noticed particularly in the last sentence, NC, maybe referring to North Carolina. I'm not really sure. I will leave that up to the cereal brains of the world. But for now, we're going to just move on. Here's a tweet from Educating Liberals. Mr. Wokwooka himself is standing in front of Mike Cernovich, and is that Jack Posobiec back there? What's wrong, Jack? You look like somebody ate your lunch. This tweet came from a 17 sister whose Twitter handle is @88YamahaKeys, who posted this, got their book signed, The Field of Fight. Says, Lee, where we go one, we go all. Mike Flynn. And wow, congratulations, Lee. You didn't just get one, you got two smiley faces. That's like 2 scoops of a smile. It means he's happy. Jack Posobiec, not so much. Let's look at him one more time. Oh, let's move on. Post 2175, 3 minutes after the hour of 7 p.m., we got more panic in D.C., and it takes us to this National Review article right here. In the Russia probe, it's qui s'excuse s'accuse. Will this be the week? With bated breath, we wait to find out whether we've reached the moment after the Labor Day end of summer, just as the critical midterm races heat up, when President Trump will follow through on his threat to declassify and publicize key FISA-Gate documents, in particular, the redacted portions of the Carter Page surveillance warrant applications. Okay, so this is a long article, and I'm just going to sum up some main points here. National Review is always pretty thorough, and I do like this article. It says here, the main suspect in an investigation with no crime. The FBI believes that the Russian government's efforts to influence the 2016 election were being coordinated with Page and perhaps other individuals associated with candidate number one's campaign. Candidate number one is Trump. See, the upper hierarchies of the FBI and the Justice Department believed the Steele dossier, or at least they said they did. The operating assumption of the Obama administration in the months before the 2016 election was that the Trump campaign was complicit in the Kremlin's hacking conspiracy. Otherwise, the FBI would not have made this representation to the FISA court 4 times, including twice after President Trump was already in office. Okay, remember, it was twice while he was still just a candidate. All right. So then it goes on to make a few points here. And let's get it right here. Here, let's stick with the essential point. The use of counterintelligence authorities to conduct a criminal investigation of Donald Trump in the absence of a predicate crime. Okay, then it goes on to talk about how these FISA warrants, especially the first 2, predated Rosenstein and Mueller. And that's important to remember. They were appointed later. Now, let's take it right here. Let's cut to the chase. Every one of the 4-page warrant applications makes the following assertions. The FBI's foreign intelligence goals for this investigation are set forth in the certification of the executive branch official contained herein. However, the authorities requested in this application may produce information and material which might, when evaluated by prosecutive authorities, constitute evidence of a violation of United States law, and this investigation may result in an eventual criminal prosecution of the target. Nevertheless, as discussed in the certification, at least a significant purpose of this request for, and then we have redacted, is to collect foreign intelligence information as part of the FBI's investigation of this target. This is so matter-of-factly brazen, buried on page 41 of the 54-page application, that we can easily miss its significance. All right. Now, it goes on to talk about how they basically used this FISA as sort of a pretext and a way to build their case rather than how it's traditionally supposed to be used when you already have some sort of evidence. And how James Comey had talked about whether or not crimes had been committed. They had discovered that through counterintelligence, which is sort of a strange way to also drum all this information up. We've really kind of gone through FISA quite a bit. And I think we all kind of understand that this was not the way it was supposed to be used. Let me point this out right here. And the writer says, what I didn't factor in was the possibility that for political reasons, the upper ranks of the FBI and Justice Department would do an investigation by themselves. That should never happen. The bosses are supposed to be the cooler heads, with detachment from on-the-ground investigation. They are there to enforce guidelines and prevent abuse, to police investigations, not conduct them. But in the Trump investigations, headquarters became the investigator. And just as an investigator is tempted to keep his supervisors in the dark when he is doing something he shouldn't do, the Obama Justice Department and FBI withheld information about the Trump investigation from Congress, even though the Gang of Eight was supposed to receive quarterly briefings on sensitive matters. They withheld essential information from the FISA court about the source of their information, the Clinton campaign, and about the apparent dishonesty and deep bias of their main witness, Christopher Steele, even as they presented unverified allegations to the FISA court, flouting FBI guidelines. Headquarters exist to prevent investigators who sometimes get too invested in their cases from cutting such corners. But here, headquarters was its own supervisor. Such arrangements tend not to end well, and that sums it up pretty well. This is a great article, though I do highly suggest reading it if you're more interested in it. But look, we know this was a faulty pretext, right? And we're already starting to see that now in the outward narrative, people are starting to understand that this goes all the way, not only to the top ranks of the FBI, but like I said, a couple of these FISAs were signed off before Trump was president. So that would essentially lead everything right back to Barack Obama. And it seems to me that they weren't just spying on Trump, they were spying on tons of people. And I think that might be some of the bombshells that we discover when we realize who else they were spying on and how deep this really, really goes. But we do know that it led all the way up to the office of the president. And that is going to create a massive panic in D.C. Let's move on. Post 2176, 55 minutes after the hour of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, we get this link right here to Executive Order 13526 from back in December 29th, 2009, signed by Barack Obama regarding the classification of sensitive material. We're not going to cover it all. It's 30 pages. But Q dials us right into section 1.7. How about that? You got a 1, you got a 7. What does that make? 17! Classification, prohibitions, and limitations. A. In no case shall information be classified, continue to be maintained as classified, or fail to be declassified in order to, number 1, conceal violations of law, inefficiency, or administrative error. Well, we had all three of those, didn't we? Number 2, prevent embarrassment to a person, organization, or agency. Number 3, restrain competition. Or number 4, prevent or delay the release of information that does not require protection in the interest of the national security. All right, so essentially what this is telling me is that Obama, knowing what he knew in regards to this whole spying campaign, knew about all the different violations of law, inefficiency, and administrative error that was going on. And if he knew about it, not only was he complicit, but he's in violation of his own executive order. Ironically, Section 1.7. And it also validates President Trump's ability to not only be able to classify it, but the fact that he's actually compelled to declassify this. So this is a pretty big deal, knowing what we know and seeing the violations that and exactly how they've been executed. This will be the real fun part of the show. But this is essentially what takes us straight up to Obama, and that's where it starts to get really into the fun stuff there. In violation of his own executive order, and it just happens to be Section 1.7. Ladies and gentlemen, you just can't write this stuff. Let's move on to 2177. Post 2177, 1 minute after the hour of 11 p.m. We get this YouTube link right here. Q says, remember your oath, united we stand. And this YouTube link takes you to the oath of office, the NSA, led by Admiral Mike Rogers. Let's give it a listen.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter. So help me God.
We do this for a reason. We do this to remind ourselves about what our mission in defending this nation is all about. It's about a legal framework codified in a document, the Constitution of the United States, that has framed this nation for its almost 240 years of existence. That's what we are about. We defend the citizens of this nation and those of our allies and friends around the world, always mindful of the law and the broader nation that we're a part of. And the oath also reminds us about the idea of obligation. That in assuming these responsibilities, the nation is counting on us, and that we realize that in executing these duties, we have an obligation over and above that of many other citizens. Whether it's the nature of the information that we're granted access to, whether it's the nation of the task that we are given. I thank each and every one of you that is both here today, as well as those of you more broadly across the enterprise. Our nation is served in no small part by the men and women of NSA, and more broadly, those who serve in a myriad of capacities, literally around the world. So I thank you all very much on behalf of the citizens of this nation for your dedication.
Q says, remember your oath. United we stand. There was Admiral Rogers back in 2015 administering the oath, reminding the good people at the NSA to remember their oath. I assume that there's still quite a few good people at the NSA, of course, and I'm sure there was a handful of some conflicted ones that maybe have to reconcile and be rememberized, that they took an oath to protect the information that they work with in this organization. Remember, serving in silence, and it's not really a job that you go after if you're seeking glory, right? But essentially, you need to be a patriot. And of course, Admiral Mike Rogers is quite the patriot, just in case anybody had any questions about that, or any quaffs or qualms or queries or quandaries about that. We know that, and we thank him for his service. Let's move on. Post 2178, 19 minutes after the hour of 11 p.m. Eastern Standard, we get this YouTube link here, and it is General Flynn speaking in St. Louis, accepting the award for service to America. Now, it's a 13-minute video, so I'm not going to play it all for you, but let me just kick you a couple highlights here.
Service to America requires us, today and tomorrow, to stand together as champions of freedom and soldiers of liberty who are on the right side of history. Anything less cannot be tolerated if our country is to survive. The future of this country depends on each one of you in this room tonight, and many, many others that you represent around our great country. This turning point is about the heart and soul of the United States of America. You cannot and must not be silent or take for granted that our great nation will not fall to the many threats that we face around the world, and some right here at home. It is time. It is absolutely time.
There you have it, boys and girls. The good general reminding us that the time is indeed now.
Okay. Do it. Do it.
All right, those are your Q posts. Let me take you over here real quick, and we're going to walk you through some of this. This is American Digital News. I'm going to post this on my Patreon. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's quite a long article. This is entitled OIG Audit Results That You Never Knew Occurred. The OIG Semi-Annual Audit Results That You Never Knew Occurred. This article is a series compiled by Lisa Evans Rockwell into the OIG audits into a large variety of departments. Each is broken down by individual audits, and highlights of findings are provided. Each comprehensive audit is included in link at the end of each section. Between October 1st, 2017 and March 31st, 2018, something very interesting was happening. The IG was auditing the Treasury. This was a semi-annual audit. There's another one going on right now. In the first audit, the work by the Office of Investigations resulted in 33 arrests, 35 indictments, and 21 convictions. What else was in the report the IG handed to Congress? The United States Mint got audited. The gold reserves got audited. That's not all this report tells us. The IG caught a leaker too. The complainant alleged that a senior staff member at a Treasury Bureau may have released information regarding the existence of a DOJ and Treasury OIG investigation, substantiated and referred to DOJ for prosecution. Who instructed all these audits to take place? This guy, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. All this was going on and no one knew about it. The swamp is being drained. First, you have to discover the crime, then you deal the punishment. It's all getting cleaned up one department at a time. Just like candidate Trump said, every department will be audited. Source Lisa Evans Rockwell. So this is really, really cool. And this is really is quite comprehensive. I highly suggest that you take a look at it so you can see for yourself what is being done. But we see millions of dollars being discovered. They talk about prosecutions within the Department of Agriculture. It goes on to talk about the Department of Energy. And I mean, like I said, it's just millions of dollars we were getting screwed out of, and all the different things that we were finding out in these audits, and they're pretty well itemized here. So congratulations here to this Lisa Evans Rockwell, who did a great job. Like I said, I'm going to pin this on my Patreon. I highly suggest you read this, and of course it'll be down in the links below. And I'm going to leave you with one more story here. I'm on onstellar.com. National Solar Observatory in Sunspot, New Mexico was evacuated and closed down by the FBI last Thursday, September 6, 2018, along with the local USPS office due to unexplained security reasons. The entire facility has been surrounded by police tape, and techs working at the observatory were contacted who said it was a security risk area and we were told to leave and don't come back until we were told to. A statement was made by the Otero County Sheriff. The FBI is refusing to tell us what's going on. We've got people up there, being the observatory, that requested us to stand by while they evacuate. Nobody would really elaborate on any of the circumstances as to why the FBI were up there. What their purpose was, nobody will say. The OCS also said there are Black Hawk helicopters at the site circling overhead, and that crews were on towers and around antennas, and added that the sheriff's office was not part of the investigation. Rod Spurgeon, a spokesman with the USPS. Right now, what we're told is that they've temporarily evacuated the area. We haven't been told why or when that expires. These solar space cams, webcams, were all taken offline at the same time as the National Solar Observatory evacuation. Then it goes on to show you a list of locations here. The Network Dome camera in Sydney, Australia. The SOAR Observatory in Chile. BRT Tenerife Telescope in Spain. The Mauna Kea Observatory in Hilo, Hawaii, the Canada-France-Hawaii Telescope in Hawaii, and the JAT Observatory in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. This is a very fluid and fast-breaking news event, and we will bring everything to you as it develops. Okay, so this was really interesting, right? And there's a lot of theories as to what's going on. I find it very interesting. It said that crews were on towers and around antennas, and added that the sheriff's office was not part of the investigation. So they shut the sheriff off. This was simply an FBI thing, and they were hanging out around the antennas. So I know there's quite a few theories going on as to what it could have been, whether or not it was solar flares, whether or not it was UFOs, whether or not it was Chinese hacking being done. But either way, I find it very interesting that in this particular location, they shut down the post office, which leads me to think there was some sort of communications being intercepted or something there. But they searched they basically blocked the area off while they searched the whole area. So this is an incredible story. I'm really interested to see if you have any developments. If you do and you follow me on Twitter, please post it on Twitter. I'll actually start a thread on this because I really am interested in what people know about this, and there's probably a lot of developments around the world, a lot of great stories going on, so I will leave you with that. All right, kids, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. All my links are down below to my channels, Gab, my BitChute, my Real.Video. For those of you who are struggling to join me on Gab, try again. I changed up the link and it may help you, so just give it a shot again. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, but all my links are down below, as well as my Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. Hey, there's Corticon. Hi, Corticon. All right, kids. Like I said, all of it's down below. My Patreon link, my email, and you can check it all out down there. That's all I got for you today, and until next time, stay safe.